So g'day everybody there. Here we are again tonight, Friday night. Today is the 25th of April 2025, and this is actually Anzac Day. So we have a bit of a different show here tonight. We've got some special guests coming in that things are a little bit different. So we're doing, as everybody knows, we're doing our run up to the election. And we're having quite a lot of candidates on that we're doing interviews. We've got some really terrific interviews coming up in the last week of the election campaign. And we also have some other people who are not running or not standing, but people who have been involved in the political side of it. So, you know, we've had a number of different commentators, a number of different people who bring other information to the discussion for the campaign and for the politicians and for everything else. So tonight, you know, we've looked at something that's a bit different, and we're going to have on Billboard Battalion tonight some people who everybody throughout Australia just knows and loves, people who have been so very dedicated to, you know, not only the freedom side of it, but the general political side of it, and people who are pushing things for, you know, for the truth and for proper information to get out to the general public. People who really are so dedicated to our country and trying to make things right. And I sort of thought what we might do is I was going to contact Dave Guru from Stop the Rot, and I had a bit of a yarn to Dave, and had a bit of a yarn to Caz. And I thought, well, why don't we do something a little bit different, and for a change, invite Dave and Caz to come on Billboard Battalion, and you know, something that they can do a bit differently, and probably not under, you know, so much pressure to come up with topics and information and so on. So and then what we've ended up happening is everybody knows, you know, we've got Nick is on Billboard Battalion's IT team. Belinda's on our IT team, we've got Dave and Caz on Stop the Rot. So this is going to be a bit interesting. We're trying something. We're mixing and matching a little bit. So what we're going to do is we'll bring you a bit of a difference, and yeah, hopefully it's something that people will enjoy, and hopefully Dave and Caz have a bit of an interesting time being on the other side of the thing. However, Caz now has also got involved in a little bit of the producing and the production of it. So we'll have a few videos on which Billboard Battalion doesn't normally have. At some point, we'll get to that point. But anyway, it's going to be very interesting. So thanks to everybody for coming on and watching. And we're coming to you today. We're from still coming to you from Coyiga, from Billboard Battalion headquarters in north central Victoria, Australia. So I might take this opportunity, and we'll give it a bit of a shot now, and we might intro Dave Guru, and see if we can get Dave to come on there and see how our button pushing technique is working, and invite Dave on. G'day there, Dave.
G'day, Wade. How are you, mate? Good to see you and all your viewers, and probably a lot of our viewers and whatever else knows. But yeah, look, lest we forget, Wade, I think a very big, important day in our history, mate. You know, as we'll get into some topics here tonight, but just another thing they're trying to take off us, people. Another thing that they want to break down from the Australian customs. And, you know, me and Wade are pretty well around the same age. And I tell you guys, I fight for a couple of reasons. One is our daughter, who was bullied to death, you know what I mean, as most of you would know. And we weren't going to sit back and watch the New World Order bully everyone else to death. And the other reason is I grew up in a beautiful country. This country was magnificent, you know, through the 60s, 70s and 80s. Sorry, guys. Yeah, and, you know, we just got to get it back, Wade. And look, the thing of that and why I do what I do is education. You know, and that's what me and Caz do. We run a news show, and we're just hoping to wake up one more person out there that might just go and tell their family and have a breakthrough. You know what I mean? And that's why we do what we do, mate. And I couldn't see us doing anything else, you know, until we get this thing back, you know. And then I'd like to go sailing and yeah, enjoy myself. But anyway, up until then, mate, we're in it, and we all are.
So look, and absolutely 100% behind what you're saying there, Dave. As you can see behind me, we've got our Anzac banner up there. Our lest we forget, we were in Echuca this morning and taking part in all the Anzac Day things that were going on there. And Belinda actually was wearing that particular banner there as a scarf. She set it up as so as you could see the wording. It was really, really brilliant and just looked $1 million.
Yep.
And we did see, and actually we might we'll get to the Anzac stuff very soon. But one thing that I'm not 100% aware of, and when I first heard of your show, I thought that you and Caz were, I don't know, married or something, or partners, or whatever. Anyway, it turns out that that's not the case, and you've got the beautiful Mel there. So yep. I just thought, there might be some people who are watching who really don't know how Guru and Caz and Mel all came together and started to put together the show Stop the Rot. So I thought, it might be just possibly an idea to give us a couple of minutes on how that happened, and maybe introduce Caz at this point, so she can come on as well, and you two probably can share in that story. That'd be really, really great.
Right, no worries. There you go.
She's not good at driving this particular thing though at the moment. The super producer has failed.
We just have a can-do attitude, and if there's a few bugs and things, we'll just knock them off and keep on going, mate. That's how we roll here.
So Stop the Rot. If we want to start with Stop the Rot, when the fires were on, remember when they burnt out everything down the east coast here? And me and Mel were doing some work there. Luckily enough, we just sort of started a podcast back then at 2019, and we were starting to do stuff. I was doing a little bit in America and that. And we were coming home, Wade, because the government stopped us after the third trip. We were told no more helping. You know what I mean? We had stuff going in on boats, to the actual affected area.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So on the way home that day, Mel was driving, and I just looked at her and just went, "Stop the Rot, sack the lot." And we both looked at each other, and I went, "Hey, that's a pretty good name for later on, for a Facebook name. We'll put that away." So we did, and then when this debacle turned up, we went, "Oh, we've got that page there. Let's get it going, And then from there, things moved, and obviously we get to everyone going through what they went through. We get to Epic, and that's when I met Caz. Actually, was down at Epic, and I was. It was after the big days. Caz was on a different side of the camp when I was down there, and I didn't meet her then. But when we were traveling down there and doing every weekend continually for all those months, Caz wanted to do something for the Bosie's children, which was give them some EMF protection, because we were all getting hammered down there in different ways from their frequency weapons and that way. So I met up with Kazza, and as it was, funnily enough, I booked into a motel here, and across the road, Kazza had booked into her motel. So Caz was over enjoying a cup of tea with me, and Mel turned up, I think. And then, from there, we started doing a few, thought, we'll keep it, and keep the podcasting going. And I invited Caz to come on, and that was it.
Invited her one night, and I think I've been there ever since.
Been there ever since, and she just brought something that I didn't have. You know what I mean? Like, Caz is a very, different and very intelligent on a lot of different aspects. I'm common sense guy. You know what I mean? Boom, boom, boom. It ain't, if it don't, 2 and 2 is 4. If it's 5, well, fucking hell, something's wrong. You know what I mean? So, and Caz brings that other effect, plus she can produce. I can't produce. This is how I'll show you. Look, here's my granddad's medals. You know what I mean? There you go. That's how good I am at sticking stuff up, So look, God puts people together, and I believe, Caz is my sister. I've had a lot of trouble with my family throughout this convert debacle, and I consider Caz my sister. I have my wife Mel, Apparently down at Canberra, I had 2 or 3 wives, but that's not correct. 5. 5 Mel's telling me. But anyway, that's very incorrect, guys. I only slept with one person since I've been married for 17 or 18 years or whatever it is. And, yeah, so we just got together and it just went from where it went from, Wade. So it's been a great ride, mate. It's been very unfortunate that we have to do something like this, put our lives on hold and actually go to the extent financially, personally, stress-wise, like I'm dealing with stuff now, and it's very hard to maybe get better and get things because you're always under this, always giving your energy away, Wade. And I'm just learning this recently, sometimes you just got to pull back, which is what I've been doing over the last few weeks and that a little bit, and pull your head in and take a bit of time for you. All right. Because, our energy, yourself, Wade, our energy just gets sucked out, mate. The hour a night is not the problem. The problem can become the other 23 hours of the day where you can't switch off because of what we do. We're just, involved and we want to be involved. So downtime is something that doesn't come around much. It's got to, but.
Oh, absolutely. And downtime certainly is a massive issue. It would be great to see a lot more Australians come on board with what's needed, so that we could probably take a little bit of a break, have a bit of time off, or something like that. But as it is at the minute, it's happening. It's here right now, and this is so critically important that this absolutely needs to be done. So. And now, Caz, you were you very politically involved before you got involved with Dave and Mal and came on board with all this sort of thing? Because
not out of want, just out of desperation, because I could see where things were going. But I think what happened with me is I knew about the New World Order since I'd been studying them for 20 years. So all of the books, like I've got, what happened was, after 9/11 happened, it didn't make any sense. So I literally went to Google and I typed it because I was at uni. I was not long after I'd been at uni, and I just went to Google. I literally Googled prophesized 9/11, okay, because I thought it was a really significant event. And there's Alex Jones. He goes, I want you to. 3 months beforehand, he goes, I want you to ring I don't know if they try to fly those planes into the Pentagon or into the Twin Towers or somewhere. and he goes, I want you to ring the Pentagon and tell them you will not believe them. Try to blame it on someone like Osama bin Laden. Yeah, anyway, and I thought, oh my God. So I started listening. I started listening to him, and every time he mentioned a book, I'd go and I'd buy it. So I got this collection of books that I've read. Or anytime he mentioned a video, and it's still evergreen too, by the way. Here's some of his early stuff. 20, 30 years ago, he was making stuff that's still absolutely pertinent. And so I'd been studying them for forever, because I thought that, we'd win this and that I would actually be writing curriculum about what happened and how it happened. Yeah.
Well, it's if you look right across the whole scenario, there's a lot of people now involved in the sort of stuff that we're doing who never, ever thought they would be involved in it. There's a hell of a lot of really terrific people who have stepped up to the plate. And, I just like to say, I don't get to watch your show every night, obviously. But, when we look at when we look at it a bit later on or what have you, the stuff that you're doing. And I'd just like to say, for a start, thanks on behalf of everybody for the terrific work that you do. And I know, and I know that what it takes, and and particularly on the tech side of it, and the button pushing stuff. And I'm a bit like you, Dave. Mate, I can I can strip down a Cummins 400 and rebuild it. I can do gearboxes on trucks. I can make anything pretty well. If it walks, crawls, or rolls, I can fix it. But this buttons pushing stuff, I'm battling to drive a calculator at the best of times.
No, I'm hearing you.
So, and we've got, like, you've got Caz there and Mal and that, and I've got here Nick. Nick is the absolute backbone of Billboard Battalion. He's, if it wasn't for Nickel, we'd be buggered. Belinda's come in as well, and she's pretty handy and all that sort of stuff as well. So I'm blessed to have them on my team, and I think the same as like you run a pretty good show there with the outfit that you've got. So
yeah.
We'd be buggered if we didn't have the brainy people, and it's just us. Guru,
yeah, that's right, mate. You can, we're good at talking the talk and walking the walk. You know what I mean? But yeah, delivering the background information is what, and getting it out there. Yeah, is there's a knack to it. You know what I mean? And to tell you the truth, me and Caz have a few arguments. We have some good debates, me and Caz.
Oh, you should hear us.
Oh yeah, but you know what is it? I'm just a lazy prick and I won't learn nothing. You know what I mean? Well. See, the problem is I don't need to learn because she's really good at doing it. You know what I mean? And if I learn it, I might, so the horses for courses, I say, like God's given Kazza a great gift, mate. And it's a multi-skilled gift, He's given me the, I don't know what he gave me, the opportunity to give Kazza a platform, maybe,
No, Dave's really good with the interviews and things like that. He carries his own, like with the interviews. He really likes to ask the hard questions, and he doesn't back down from them. And I always think that's where his strength is. Like, he's good at outlaying, explaining in normie language, like what's really going on. Because I tend to sort of like lean towards academia slightly. But where he really cruises on his own, I think, is just basically with the interviews.
Yeah, I do.
And I think too, like,
I like it.
That's a big thing. Like, if Dave can talk normal person language, I think that's what resonates with people, because people go, we're sick to death of hearing all these politicians, all these polished politicians speak, and they talk for 2.5 hours and don't actually say anything, and then they just barefaced lie to you in the first instance.
Yep.
And I think that's what we need. We need to get back to just being normal and talk to people in language that you're not talking down to them, and they can actually understand.
As most people would know, I like to use analogies. You know what I mean? I'm a great one, especially for sporting analogies, but I think that gets out to the basic person. They understand that, you know what I mean? When you talk like that, like, and it's a common thing. You can use rugby, tennis, soccer. It doesn't, pool, lawn bowls. It doesn't matter, but you can find an analogy. Surfing, you know what I mean? This wave we've all took off on in humanity, you know what I mean? Like this massive wave, it's never been ridden before. We don't know where it's going, so you can hook that into a surfing analogy, you know what I mean? And that's what I like to do. Yeah.
The crazy part about it is, Wade, that I think, like, with the whole thing of how it started, it's just crazy how it just all started, and everyone's kind of like looking at you as though you know what you're doing, and we don't. They're looking to us for answers, and they're expecting us to have answers and solutions and things like that, and we've just made as many mistakes as everybody else. We're not perfect, but somehow there's this expectation that, there's this expectation that we know what we're doing, but we don't. We've never break this. We just basically decided to start doing it, and it just works. But the good thing about it is, I always think of the icebreaker as well, because if you look at who's coming up now, because I'm a bit of a social media, I like to scan social media and see what's going on. And there are so many younger generation Australians that are coming up, and they, it's taken us 3 years to get to this stage. Okay, but they are coming up and they're just about to bypass us, and they're the ones that are going to bring it home for us, and they are awesome.
I agree.
And look, I think that's so critically important. There is a fairly big number of people who they're on the couldn't care less spectrum, if you like. And I think that what we have is there's some really good young people coming through. And I think that's where exactly the same as the likes of you and me, Guru, we work really well with our tech team. I think that the younger people need also the knowledge and wisdom of older people to help guide them, because we we know what it used to be like. They don't have that knowledge, so I think that it is a team, really big team effort to what we're doing here tonight.
No, it looks like we're running the show. Wade's dropped out.
Yeah, is it Wade dropping? I didn't know whether it was me or you.
No, it's Wade dropping out.
Yeah, and Wade's right there, and what he's saying, we just need to get more people. Like, we're going to be spreading this information for a little while yet, guys, I mean, there is some big stuff happening in the background by the look of it, you know what I mean, which we won't go into, but this is going to take longer than what we all thought. It's taken longer. We all thought this would be over in 2 years, 3 years, seriously, everyone did. All right. And here we are. We're still at the precipice, really, of fighting these globalist mongrels, you know what I mean? And we've got all of our government politicians, everyone behind the scenes now, all against us, and we know what they've done. We know the meetings they've had in Israel. We know what they've done. We know what their plans are. And yet here we are. We've still got this, we call it, what is it? Sorry, not Stockholm Syndrome, but the other one where people are just like, done up, Hey? No. But anyway, we just got to keep working, guys. And I think that's the essence of what we all do. And as more people are coming on board, Wade, we have more stuff going out to more different more different, not genders, sorry. It's only 2 genders, male, female. We'll make that straight. But more different groups out there, all right, and a lot of different people in different areas. I try to tell the young guys down here sometimes when I talk to them, guys, if you don't act now, you're not going to have a car like this. You can't have a twin turbo Supra anymore. You can't have that V8 Holden. You can't, and I love all them things, mate. That's us. That's Australia. Fast cars, fast women, nice beaches. But unfortunately, guys, while we were enjoying all that, people like me and Wade, the carpet was just getting slipped from underneath us, and we had no idea, really. Caz did 20-odd years ago, but I didn't. I'd seen something about 15 years ago. But I went, they made that was the Lockstep project, that bit of paper. And I read it, and I went, well, it's public now. No one will ever try and pull that off. And then around 2018, 2019, you're watching it all come together, and yeah, we got some work to do, people. We got some work to do. You all need to get on board, do your bit, and just keep talking, keep pushing the info out there, because the mainstream at the moment is only selling you what they need to sell you to keep you on their narrative path, okay? They'll give up a little bit, guys. No worries, all right? But I'm telling you, they're still bought and sold, all right? And we know what's going on. It is absolute. It's genocide. It's murder 101. And just about every corporation in Australia that has to do with our government or our country is complicit in it. It's as simple as that.
So is that your take, Caz? You said there before, you were looking at this a long time ago, and you were reading books and so on, when you're back in uni and all that sort of thing. That's your sort of take on things as well.
Yeah, well, look, I just thought I actually, like Dave, I thought that everyone would wake up once they tried it, because I knew that once they uncloaked, when they pulled off the vaccine and the lockdowns, okay, I thought that's when they were uncloaking, and I thought that people would wake up, and a lot of people did, but not as many as I thought. Like, I thought that the whole world would wake up once you realise that they're lying to you, but I've seen it's this very strange thing where people see, I don't know, but you always look for the first lie. Mum always said, you look for the first lie. And then once you find the first lie, then you can actually start backpegging and going, okay, well, But the thing is, and that's not like, that's also with people, but it doesn't mean somebody's characterized as a liar, but it just means that it's, it just means you know where to slot things in. So, but when people saw the first lie, which was when it became apparent that that China was holding a movie set, and they were spraying people, and it was all a movie set, and there's people collapsing and things like that. It was like, but it even took, to be fair, it took me a while. Like, I was thinking, well, I know that they were going to do the fake one first, and then they were going to roll out the real one. But this one's looking pretty real. So it actually took a while for me to figure it out. So, yeah.
Brilliant psyop. Brilliant psyop.
Well, I mean, if you look at it from a tactical point of view, a military point of view, and for what it is, you go, well, they've put it together brilliantly. They've had a lot of years to prepare it, and it's this, and the subtle thing started a long time ago. We go back to, like they're talking about now, shutting down speech on certain things, and people ending up in jail in England for just making a post, or now just for saying something in public. Yeah. And we first, the earlier point, we first saw that when they started talking about it's just political correctness. That was the start of the shutting down of people's ability to speak. So it's been a long time in the making. It's been very, very important that people do come on board. I can't believe the amount of people who just got sucked in, they've got conned, they've got indoctrinated. They don't want to know about this or the other thing. But we're seeing a change now where people are starting to have a look, and people are really starting to take some notice. So, and well done to people such as yourself. There's a lot of other freedom movement shows around, and everybody's contributing to the public knowledge, because knowledge and education is where this is going to be won. So
yeah, always more knowledge, always more information. I don't know how many times Dave and I have sat on a story and not run with it and just wait to see how it played out and what was developed. Yep. And then like 24 hours later, and 24 hours, it's a completely different story. There's more information comes forward, and it's like, But this is what they did. Remember when about 10, 15 years ago, when the American media was all reporting that Russia had attacked Georgia through South Ossetia, and it was like it ran for 3 days, and everyone's going, okay, well, it doesn't make any sense. Why would Russia do that? And then 3 days later, it ended up coming out, no, actually, Georgia attacked Russia through South Ossetia. So, but it took 3 days.
Yep. The old 48-hour rule we run by it a fair bit, don't we, Caz? Especially some of them ones, them stories that just pop out at you and you go, whoa, hang on, just sit back, because, you're going to, the first one ain't what's going on. It really ain't.
So we saw a quick snippet before, Caz, of the things we were talking about with regard to the Anzac Day in Echuca in north central Victoria here, which is it's the sort of thing that you see all over Australia, and the Anzac marches and the people turning out are really starting to grow in momentum, and I think more and more people are looking at that because they're seeing the danger that we're in. And like last night we did an interview with an ex Australian Army vet. And, there was a lot came out in that, particularly about how our vets are treated and mental health issues they've got now. They're not supported by the government. And we talk a lot about what's happening with our country, and, particularly on Anzac Day, what has happened to our country and, what our Anzacs fought for and died for. So we might just bring people a little bit of footage here from Echuca this morning when we were up there, and we'll start off with there was a bit of a parade through the main street there, and went up to an area where they did presentations. We saw a flyover from the Echuca Aero Club of some of the old planes there. So I think that takes about a minute or so, Caz. So you might just run that if you wouldn't mind at the minute, please, mate.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that one. We'll grab that one first.
And thank you to the Echuca Aero Club for their flyover this morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's Anzac Day service. Welcome also to those joining us via the radio or on the web, courtesy of Radio EMFM. My name is Chris Campbell, and I'm going to be MC this morning, and President of the Echuca RSL sub-branch. Chloe Campbell and Zali Newman, captains of Echuca College, who will deliver the Anzac Requiem. And of course, the 301 Army Cadets for providing our colourful party. And the Echuca Federal Band, who will...
I've got to remember to bring us back in. Okay, mental note to self.
It's okay.
Yeah.
If you've got the other three short ones there, Caz, yeah. So what you're going to see now is the parade that was in the main street of Echuca there. So we'll just have a quick look at that, and that'd be fantastic, please, mate.
Oh, I've lost us. Okay.
We're here.
We'll be there somewhere, Caz.
Yeah, we're floating around. We're all black, but we're floating around.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. So, yeah. All right, let me just fix this.
Statement from the Premier.
I don't know what I've done.
We've really upped our viewership with the Premier actually making a statement for us now. So anyway, that's okay. While you have a look at that, Caz. So what we were looking at there, that, as I said, that was Anzac Day Parade and some of the events that were happening in Echuca and Victoria, and this sort of stuff is growing across Australia, and I think that it's really good to see, the Australian people, and a lot of those kind of people are definitely not what we call the traditional freedom fighters. We're seeing a lot of kids getting involved, a lot of people wearing, medals of somebody who may have passed away in their families, and a lot of good things being said and done. So it's really important to me to keep the Anzac spirit alive as much as we can. I believe that it's our role to take up where they left off and to fight for our country. So I just thought I might see, what your thoughts might be on that kind of a thing. Have you seen more people getting into it? And, you've already said a fair bit about fighting for our country and honouring our Anzacs, because I think they'd be turning in their graves right now if they saw what the place looked like.
Oh, for certain. But I myself have watched it grow over the last, but look, funny, and, I'll say this, guys, because this is where we are. I just showed you those medals there, all right? That was a post that come up in a memory, all right? Whoops, there we go. There my granddad's, all right? He was a rat at Tobruk, all right? And he come home, and his little brother was over there with him, and look, it's growing, guys. All right, it's been growing over the last 10 or so years. All right, we had some really big years. I think the 2020 or something was a pretty big one, or the memorial one back there somewhere, whatever it was. But yeah, we've watched it grow. Now, the thing is, we're watching it grow, but we're not. It's a very different day. Like, people go to Anzac Day and the conversation is on Anzac Day. It's very hard to break in with other stuff. If you tried to go there and push another narrative or try and talk another narrative, you're going to get whacked. You know what I mean? So it's a great day for us all to get together, and a lot of people are going, Wade, but it's classed as sacrilege to take the conversation away from Anzac Day, even though we're going to sit there and be welcome to our own frigging country, which is okay by them, but it's sacrilege to go in and start a different conversation is how I see it. So as much as Anzac Day may be growing each year, I don't think it's a conversational place, and not right now anyway, that we can actually go and win the masses. You know what I mean? Maybe when we get a bit more truth, maybe people like me who have had a granddad that was a rat at Tobruk may be able to get to talk about things about the war and that, as people come to wake up. But I mean, I've never seen these medals, guys, for the last 4 years, 5 years. I have not had them. Why? Because I come out one night on a show and I told the truth about the World War II. And the moment I did, the family kept those medals from me. I didn't deserve to have them anymore if I was going to speak about World War II like that. So, again, you know what I mean? There's been so many things that have gone on here, things that you never thought would have happened. Like I marched every year. As it says in that post, I got a mate here that I grew up with, Mark Richo, and his dad was a Raditcher with my granddad. And Mark has his dad's diary. And every year we used to read a day out of the diary. And it was just incredible, to hear what these guys were doing over there, man, in the trenches. And this is his original diary from back in the war, you know what I mean? And, yeah, they were incredible things. And unfortunately, I don't get to display the medals anymore, you know what I mean? I asked for them this year, never got them, never got a response. But, I mean, guys, we just got to keep this tradition going because we've got all avenues and we've been lied to a lot, you know what I mean? And people like me stand up and tell the truth and you cop it for it. But, the one thing that we've got is our Anzacs, okay? And they're going to try and take it off us, all right? It's bigger than our Australia Day. It's bigger than anything, guys. It is our Anzacs. It is the people that the audience out there now know were sent as chattel, okay, to fight a banker's war. Okay, that's not what my pop thought he was doing. My pop went on the best of thoughts, you know what I mean? He was fighting for his country, which he was, okay? But it was an organised bankers' war, and we all know it now. So it's a very, very important part of our history, and it has to survive, Wade, and they want to take it off us quick, smart, mate.
Yeah, the globalists have always, in their own writings, they write to prepare something and then they flip the script, okay, to demonise it. Like they've always done that, like with the Romanovs, they basically, got all of the people to, basically they sacrificed them, and then later they released the diaries, and that made the guilt even more on the Russian people. So this is a modus operandi. They always set something up to tear it down.
And I think that, a lot of people who basically have a bit of an idea of of things that have happened in history are saying right now, the nasty, evil people, they take over, and then the good people, they come back later on and they take back over. We're at a point now with the weapons and with the technology they have, there won't be any coming back. We have to kill this now. We've got to fight it now and get rid of this. So we just touched before there on something that's becoming more and more prevalent. We get around the countryside a fair bit. And I might just add that actually today, last year, Billboard Battalion was in Albany, Western Australia for Anzac Day. We went to the dawn service there. And that was, for the people who don't know, that's where the Anzac sailed from. And so it was really quite special to be right there. That's the last piece of Australia that a lot of the Anzacs ever saw. So that was something I just wanted to add in there. So it's one of the things I always like to do, have always liked to have done. So now we've done that, it's really great. But we saw some footage today, and we are looking at the old welcome to country, and the old welcome to country isn't that old. So it's a bit of a thing happening now where we're seeing a shift, where a lot of people are saying, hang on, we don't want to be welcome to our own country. And people now are connecting that with a lot of the corporate stuff. There's a lot of that happening, and even a lot of Aboriginal people are going, mate, this is just all crap. It's only been invented recently in modern history for purposes, that now we're hearing people saying, oh, well, it's been back from, day one and all this sort of stuff when it hasn't. So I know myself, I look at a lot of the stuff that goes on and go, oh, don't tell me to listen to this crap again. And so, you know, you've got a bit of footage there, Caz, that we might put up.
Well, I do actually. So Madison King came out and she had a really good take on it. But here's how the mainstream media reported it early this morning, and it's been running in the news cycle all day.
So just after 5:30 this morning, the Welcome to Country was being read out. As soon as that began being read out, some members of the crowd began booing and yelling words to the effect of, "Don't welcome us to our country. What about the Anzacs?" That continued for the entire Welcome to Country speech, and also continued any time the Indigenous community was mentioned throughout this morning's service. Now, what we understand, Sky News understands, that allegedly far-right extremist Jacob Hersant is one of the men involved in this. He's well known for previously and has been accused of performing the Nazi salute. Because it was dark, Pete, it was really hard for police to try and determine where these boos were coming from, because those who were doing this were actually dispersed within the crowd, but our cameras managed to catch it.
I'm here to welcome everybody to my father's country. Beautiful Bunurong country.
We also remember the First Nations people, all the First Nations people who serve this country in uniform.
We're here for the Australians!
So, I've done it again. Gosh, I'm good. Okay, so how do I drive this one? Let's go that one. Let's go there. And I think I turned that off there. Good. Done it. Ah,
Perfect.
good. Got it. Getting it.
No, well done.
So yeah, there you have it there, but it's very interesting. Actually, I'm not hosting. Wait, you go. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Got a lot going on here.
So, so it's interesting that, you know, they are making the point of police were having trouble identifying the people. You know, we're talking about a lot of things happening in terms of freedom of speech, freedom of politics. You know, in England, we're seeing, as we said, people being arrested for speaking, and not only just praying, Guru, but just saying certain things that they now deem as being illegal. And I can remember many years ago that we saw, I think it was in maybe the federal parliament now, it's going back a while, that a number of Aboriginal activists at the time who, when certain people were speaking, they'd stand up and turn their back on them. And, you know, the media really ran with that as thinking it's something really terrific. And that was to show a sign of disrespect. That was the statement that was being made there. So, you know, I think if we get to a point where we start to be banning people for saying something, you know, we're in big trouble. And as I said, you know, and I deal with this a lot in terms of the if you look at the UNDRIP situation, you know, we're seeing a lot of Aboriginal people now who are being exploited by a lot of the big corporations. And one of the good points that was made on that that video, there were Aboriginal people who served as well, that, you know, who fought for Australia. And, you know, I've heard many of them speak over the last 20 odd years about certain things and saying we need to be one country and one people. So, you know, I think that we need to start looking at just coming up with a common objective, and get our people not to be dealing with all that stuff, to get back as one, because we're dealing with international forces now that hate us as a country and every person in it. And this is one of the things that I think we need to, you know, get back to basics, and the things that are causing division and so on. You know, we don't want to see that. So, you know, any thoughts on that at all?
You go first, Dave.
Well, yeah, look, this is just, you know, typical division, you know what I mean? They just create, you know, whatever havoc they can. And this, you know, welcome to country, you know, I remember everyone thought it was a good thing when it first came out. I think everyone was going, oh, yeah, well, that's fair enough, you know what I mean? But in the background is the UN agenda, the WEF agenda, which is using the Indigenous to get the land rights, all right, to rape, pillage and plunder of us of everything that's left, which is not much. okay, and grab the rest of it, guys, So again, yes, we've got Indigenous being used. Unfortunately, this is how these guys work. You know what I mean? They pick on the minority, you know what I mean, and use the minority to further their global interests, through backdoor deals, et cetera, and there's a lot of stuff that have to stop. I think look, our biggest problem at the moment, I think, is lobbyists. I think that's our biggest problem that we have, you know what I mean? Because we got, what was it, something like 8 or 9 or 12 to 1 lobbyists at Canberra, you know what I mean? These are the people putting all those little deals together in the background and slipping them across the table, you know what I mean? Because they're lobbying for this company here to get that. Now, if they have to take a trip through the Indigenous to get there, they will. If they don't, and there's a shortcut, they won't. Okay, but they will do, and the thing with going through the Indigenous is to harness it into the UN. And that's the whole thing, guys. We know what we're dealing with here. It's not as if we don't know. All right, they wrote the script for us. They gave it to us. All right, we saw it. And they are playing it out exactly how they wrote it. So, yeah, we've got to make a change, Wade, some way or another, because unfortunately our Indigenous will get used. You know what I mean? It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we've got a lot of things though that is actually happening, and the reason why they've, if you look at what happened, Alexandra Marshall, and she's a conservative commentator, but she nailed it because she said, "It is my belief that the Victorian Labor Party like having the neo-Nazis around. Remember the Labor press and weaponised, remember Labor and the press weaponised them to destroy the women's rights in Victoria, branding the people who believed in biology as far-right Nazis. Now they're going to make the use of them basically impossible." So even she's basically starting to see it. So I see a lot of people waking up and going, hang on a minute, this is not our first rodeo. We've seen this before. So there is that. But also the other thing is that we're not actually that divided. It is this elite and the lefties who are strongly influence them. And then there's the rest of us who are just the normal people who just want to go along to get along. And the one thing that I think that we have that is really strong for us, and that is our mateship, our sense of mateship. When people see what is going on with the homelessness, with the tearing down of the tents, like people are just genuinely outraged by that. They just can't even fathom that in Australia, this is what's going on. So I think that in that sense, and if you look at the historical sense of the mateship as well, it had a revival with the Anzacs, but also it was born out of the hardship that Australians had to endure, and that is both sides. Okay, that was the convicts who were brought here, who were very friendly, oftentimes with the Aboriginals. Okay, a lot of intermarrying that went on there, and sometimes enemies as well. It wasn't just collectivized. Okay, it was, some Aboriginals were bad, some Aboriginals were good, some white people were bad, some white people were good. It is just it's an individualized thing. It's not just this collectivism thing.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the homeless people who are having their tents and what precious little things that they have being destroyed by government. This is an absolutely abhorrent situation, but as we know, this is all part of the plan. This is all part of the agenda. This is part of what our governments who have signed up to the likes of the UN and the WHO and the WEF. That's all part of this plan, is to create such depression in people and so much pressure. And that's what this whole thing is about. So exactly the same as using Aboriginal people. There's so many who are living in third world conditions, are in such terrible positions, and you've got a handful of these so-called Aboriginal leaders who are on the corporate bandwagon with their snouts so deep in the trough, and they're chewing up millions of dollars and have done right back from the days when ATSIC was first started. And the rest of these people are living a shocking, horrible existence. So I think that a part of what we need to do as Australians is develop that mateship and that combined coming together to understand what we're dealing with and fight back about it. And once again, we come back to your show and what you do. That's all a part of doing exactly that.
Yeah, it's look, it's just something that has to happen, and I think we've won this information war, or winning this information war, hands down. The problem is, it's such an evil cartel that have got their little like claws into so much. They're right down in our society. They're into your kindergarten children. Like, they're into you at birth, guys. All right, we all know what happens. As we got a little bit more educated. If you didn't know the other night about the placenta and the twin and the the bullshit about your birth certificate and everything. So they've got us. They've infiltrated right down. To the moment we come out of the womb, we're gone. We're infiltrated unless you know better. All right. And then it's a very hard process to actually navigate, because they're going to make it very hard for you. So, look, education's it. As far as I'm concerned, if we're doing this when we're 90, Wade, and we haven't won yet, well, so be it, mate. But I don't think that will be it. But, I mean, education's the thing. We just got to keep educating more and more people, because when they see, or the penny drops in one area, then other areas start to open up and they start to put everything together. And next minute, all those little, numbered dots, they all paint a picture. And the picture's not very nice if you get to see it.
So to get down to the politics side of it now, and we're only a bit over a week out from this election, you're dealing with people all the time. You're interviewing politicians or candidates all the time. We've certainly seen a lot happen in the last couple of weeks that is unbelievable in fact. And it's, who knows where this thing's going to end up. We've interviewed some political candidates on Billboard Battalion. We've got more coming up next week. Some really good people who are in the game there. We've got Michael O'Neill and his wife Barbara actually will be on tomorrow night on Billboard Battalion. We've got Chris Neal coming up very, very soon. Thanks for that, Caz. So we've been speaking with Michael O'Neill there. He leads the Heart Party. And, I think that it's going to be that will be an interesting interview, in so much as Barbara is very, very much into health. She's very, very much into promoting healthy living and all kinds of different remedies. She's not 100% behind all the pharmaceuticals. And so, some of the things that we'll be talking to Barbara about will be, how does she see and I'm aware from Michael that she's not really interested in a whole lot in politics. She's interested in saving lives and keeping people healthy. But, what's coming at us, and it'll be interesting to get her opinion, or perhaps to start things, getting her to think about these, is that with the international health regulations they want to bring in, with the other policies that the WHO has, that the Australian government seem to be just falling over themselves to sign up to, you will ultimately see any kind of natural or herbal or what have you kind of remedies or health, anything will be banned. So even to the point we saw in COVID, where a doctor, when talking about COVID, could not actually recommend just good food, healthy living, exercise, drink plenty of water, get the right amount of sleep, and all that kind of stuff. So, and I might just say, Nick, we might pull a pin on the YouTube now, mate, if you don't mind, because we don't want to sort of get too carried away with things that they get a little bit testy about. But so that's going to be a great interview tomorrow.